So hi, my name is Jackie, and welcome to my new channel. Yes, it's another van life channel, can you believe it? So I've been living in the UK and Europe for the last 30 years or so. I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That's where I am now. I've very recently returned to support elderly parents who live just outside of Edmonton. I've chosen to continue a way of life that I rather started in Europe quite a while ago. I was a private chef working freelance for a very long time, for many, many years. Even before that, I had camper vans, all kinds of camping vehicles, up to sort of what we call A-class motorhomes. So those are the fully enclosed, integral style motorhomes, small ones. And I basically lived out of those while I went on assignment and did my various little jobs all over the place, and absolutely fell in love with that way of living. So essentially, I've been semi-nomadic, working for about 25 years. And up until a couple of years ago, I had a little dog, Murphy, who tagged along with me and was my total sidekick. I also was an avid bicycle tourer. So on my in-between assignments, I would go on very long distance tours with little Murph, fully supported, self-loaded. So I'm very used to this nomadic lifestyle, but also very compact. Mind you, in Europe, I had vehicles that were much more comfortable and practical to live in. I didn't feel like I had to hide because Europe has a fantastic network of resources for people spending a lot of time in their recreational vehicles. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. And I knew when I made the decision to come from Europe to Canada to help my parents that I wanted to carry on with that. I knew I probably couldn't cope living with my parents full time. And when I arrived, I found that the prices here, like everywhere else, have absolutely gone through the volcano rooftop. It's just not practical to think about paying for an apartment. Here you have to have a vehicle anyway. The public transportation is pants. My parents live quite far out of town, and my employment options here are very limited. Unemployment is very high here in central Alberta, amongst the highest in Canada. So I had to get really creative how I would carry on working. I don't have massive funds in the bank. I have some to get me started. So I started another little pet sitting business, and that's how I plan to sort of sustain myself and have a nice place to stay and a floofy dog or cat to cuddle up to in the coldest of the winter months. I'm in one of the most extreme climates in the world. In the summer, it's incredibly hot. And in the winter, it can go down to minus 40, minus 50, and a lot colder with a wind chill. And then, of course, you have the snow to contend with. So, big change of scene here for me. When I could just drive to Sicily for the winter, or Spain or Greece, and then go back north into the mountains in the Alps and Norway and Sweden when it was getting too hot in the south. But I know what I'm getting into. I have watched a whole back catalog of videos from van lifers up here who have been doing it for a good few years, and I've gleaned a lot of tips. Hey, Forest, yeah, shout out to you, mate. So as I said, I was born here in Edmonton. It's a great place to raise a family, don't get me wrong. There's jobs. People migrate from all over Canada to come here to work in the oil patch or other related industries. It's a very industrial province. Maybe unfairly called the Texas of Canada, but I don't think that's actually too incorrect. It's cattle ranching, horses, cowboys, country music, and oil. And I am none of the above. I'm very grateful to the oil industry for providing me the fuel to keep motoring on through life. But I I'm more European in my ideas now. However, there's been a huge influx of people from all over the world moving here, and the demographic is changing. So that, to be fair, things are changing. But, the people that I grew up with, where I grew up with here, it just wasn't me. And I had to get the heck out as soon as I could. I had a very rough growing up here. It's really quite hard for me to come back, and I certainly am struggling with the idea of having to spend as much time as I'm probably going to be spending here in the future. My solution is to change the context of how I'm thinking. I meditate, I follow the Plum Village, engaged Buddhism idea. So that helps rearrange my thought process and get me focused on what I can do here, a more positive way of looking at it all. So what's the idea? Well, I'm going to stay here until I don't have to be here anymore, and then I'll probably go back to Europe. And hey, maybe I'll even bring you along. It'll be a different kind of adventure. I feel fortunate to be able to have the flexibility, and that's how I've designed my life, to actually come back and support my parents, who are really decent people. So what's going to happen with van life? Well, when I bought this van, I didn't quite know how it would work. It's so small. Watching others, though, live very comfortably and practically all over North America in this type of vehicle, I was very inspired. So I did to just feel it out for now. I've done a no build, and I've used a lot of things that I found in secondhand stores and Value Village and Goodwill, on Facebook Marketplace, just to get me started. But being a very experienced camper vanning person, I've got a lot of ideas. Now that I know this is how I'm going to stay, I am going to make improvements. So I want to bring you along what I have found here since I've started exploring this lifestyle, is that for me the number one priority is stealth. I can see that there's just, particularly in Alberta, very few resources for people living in their vehicles, be they proper recreational vehicles, $120,000 camper vans, or little vehicles like mine. They just don't like it, and there's been a lot of abuses as everywhere, as van life, living in your vehicle, RV life, has exploded all over the world. So I get it. So I'm trying to stay under the radar as much as I can. I don't want anything visible on the outside of my vehicle that can identify me as somebody who's possibly living in their van. Number two, economy. I'm used to, really highly economical diesel vehicles in Europe that get double to triple the gas mileage that these gas pigs get. And there's so very little choice here. Everything is automatic transmission, complicated, expensive to repair, expensive to fill up, expensive to buy. So screw that. I bought a used soccer mom van. I'm getting kind of fond of it. And also it gives me permission to, if I want to kind of rip it to shreds and do a proper build. So that is the logic behind it all. I would have loved to have had a four-wheel drive, high clearance vehicle that I could have taken down foresty forest kind of roads. That might come in the future. We'll see. So I'm saving that as a possibility. For now, this is how I'm rolling. Well, come on, I'll show you around. Well, so there she blows. Have you ever seen a more ubiquitous melt into the scenery kind of van? Yeah, there's billions of these all over the roads here. They're affordable. Yeah, not the greatest quality at all, but I'm hoping a little cheaper to fix. So this one has a few abrasions and tiny bits of body damage. It's Alberta. Salt on the road is a huge problem. Snow and ice building up in your wheel wells formations. Very little rust on this one. That's what I was looking for, something that was a little less of a rust bucket, as most used Alberta vehicles tend to be. And it has the fabulous, very dark tint on the glass. The clearance isn't too bad. I would sure like a little bit more. I'm considering a lift kit. Here we go. The back is devoted to a little bit of extra storage. I did remove the double rear seat over here to get some space underneath, available for my diesel heater. You can just about make it out. I'm not going to take everything out right now, and I'll show you some other time. I did install this diesel heater myself last weekend. I haven't tested it out. I still have to mount the diesel tank somewhere. I dread having to have it inside, but I have no sense of smell, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to live with it. I have rooted the exhaust out and down the back. This is one of the only things that identifies me at the moment as something unusual. So I'm planning to make that a little bit more stealthy at some point. For now, it can stay. And here, of course, is the fresh air intake for it. So I'm going to let you know how that goes. I bought a 5 kilowatt diesel heater, which is in most places absolute overkill for a van this size. But I'm reckoning, hey, I might be in here minus 30, minus 40, probably consistently minus 10, 20. That's Celsius. I'll have to look up the values in American money. Have very typical. I really wanted to avoid a lot of plastic as much as I could, but for now, all of this stuff is bought from a secondhand shop, so it's not newly injected into the market, if you like. I'm trying my best, and in the future, yeah, I mean, it's a priority for me not to be so plasticky. Speaking of plastic, I invested in a Bouge RV 30-quart compressor fridge, knowing full well that these can be rather short-lived, but it's a really good start. It has totally changed my life. I was using a big old-fashioned Coleman cooler with ice. Hey, it's $4 a bag for ice now. You don't want to do that for too long. For the moment, just refilling 4-liter bottles of water. However, that will change. I will be installing either a Berkey water filter, or I'll just be getting the big 18-liter bottles of water, so I don't have to mess about too much. So how am I powering my fridge and my accessories? One of the first purchases I made was a Blue Eddy AC70. So it's got, 770 watts of stored energy. It's not quite enough for what I need. I should have got a little higher, but there was such a great price going on this at the time, and it's so easy to carry into a leisure center or a library. So if I need a quick top up, it's just great. But I will be adding a lithium iron phosphate battery. I'll probably go with a 100 amp hour battery for now, and we'll see. We might want to expand that. The idea is to do some alternator charging, so I'll be investing in a DC to DC charger, and possibly a flexible solar panel that I will not affix to the roof, but I'll carry in the van with me and pull out when I have a discrete parking area. I really am going to try as long as I can to stay stealthy. So how have I been charging other than sneaking into libraries and such and stealing power? Well, I have been charging via the car's 12-volt outlet. So I have 3. However, what I found was I've already gone through one power cord. The cord gets very, very, very hot. So I suppose the heat is destroying it. I seem to blow the occasional fuse under the hood. So obviously I think the wiring just isn't up to the job. So the stock wiring. So definitely I'm in a hurry to get that, maybe a Pecron 500 watt charger. My alternator could probably handle that. If you have any suggestions for me though, do leave them down below. Keeping in mind, hey, I'm in Canada, I may go totally rogue and get one of those cheap little DC to DC converters. I'm a total cheapo. So anytime I feel confident enough to do something myself, I will. So I'll keep you posted. So of course we have all of the pesky bugs in the universe in Alberta. When the weather is nice, yeah, you stay inside because you've got mosquitoes and horseflies and wasps and all other nasties. So first thing I did was install some bug netting. So there we go. It really isn't quite as smart looking as so many of the little vans I've seen, but it is relatively temporary. I have been living in it like this for about 3 months now, adding a few little bits and bobs. So this is just a dumpster find. It was absolutely brand new, so I was pretty pleased to find it, and I made a place for it, and it's turned into my kitchen. Very handy little shoe organizer here, taking care of all of my cleaning supplies. This was a Facebook Marketplace find. It's a little IKEA laptop desk that you can slide under the bed, and it's got a little hydraulic lift, so I can just lift it out of the way. Then it actually makes a little protective ceiling, because this is where I do my cooking. Yeah, simple little canister stove like everybody else. Planning to change that up, well, to use it, but eventually I would like to get an induction and be self-sufficient in my electrical supply so I can eliminate gas. I'm doing that rather practical setup of using the last seat, the last stow and go seat. It's very comfortable. I've added an extra little office backrest, and I can do all of my work from there. I watch TV from there. TV, yeah, videos, Netflix. And this is really the worst thing I've installed in here so far. I bought a secondhand cot off of Facebook Marketplace, thinking, wow, this will be a great idea. Look at all the little extra pockets. Unfortunately, it's a horrible hunting store brand. However, it's super practical in terms of all the extra storage that came with it, and the underneath storage that I get quite high. But it's so uncomfortable. The idea was to get some good quality foam, firm foam to put on top, but it's still a bit saggy. So I have to work on that. Down the road, I'll custom build a bed that will follow the contours, be even more narrow now than this one in the legs, but give me plenty of room in the shoulders. Keep my head at the front, so when I'm parked, if I get hit while I'm sleeping in the back there, my brain will hopefully stay intact. So yeah, not the greatest. Don't do it like I've done it. Start with a proper bed. So my fridge is entirely accessible from here. Ceiling space is a little bit short. However, I can pretty much get into anything there with relative ease. And I've hung, oh, there goes my meditation bell. Oh dear, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, just a few little practical items that I found in my travel. It's a USB rechargeable, flexible lamp. It gives off great light, and is perfectly stealthy and warm. Also here, it's a little button lamp. Push that. That's an IKEA thing, and it feeds into a USB port. Gives off an amazing amount of light in here. So it's a kind of more of a utility light when I need it to get into my fridge. Uses zilch for power. Yeah, and just the typical little setup here. I've strung bungee cords so I can hang a few accessory items, and of course my little dog Murph. That was my best little traveling buddy for 17 years. I miss her very, very much. She's still coming with me. And so, yeah, probably not making the best of the little storage cubbies that the van offers. But for now, it's okay. And so you can see my little kitchen, cutlery and junk drawer down here. All of my pots, coffee supplies. And this actually works quite well. Oh, I have kind of no complaints. I certainly wouldn't want to cook anything too greasy or smelly. Down here I have rigged up 2 USB water pumps and just change out my water bottles obviously fairly often. One is for washing, and then I buy water for drinking. I put in an indoor-outdoor carpet just to cover the standard rather grotty carpeting that was in the van. And here I have my little emergency loo, just covered with a laundry bag I found at Dollarama, and it makes a nice little cheerful cover, and that works really, really well. So this table, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. It's really the idea was right, but actually it takes up a little bit more room and it's a little bit more cumbersome than I would like. And I've since bought this little laptop desk, which seems to do a lot of the same jobs, and yet I can stow it away so that it's invisible when I'm not using it. So yeah, it has the little leg stands, and I use it here when I'm in my office. Oh yes, the curtains. Yeah, really another kind of poor job, just to get me started. Yeah, simple Value Village purchase of some almost blackout curtains, not quite, and just a cheap rod up there to keep everything together. And it does a pretty good job of blacking things out, I must say. So in the front here, yes, the hiking supplies will be there. Future videos may center around me stumbling around through grizzly country, trying not to get eaten. So yes, just the front is a drop zone for laundry, winter clothing packed into a cushion bag, a quick access to my gym bag. I do use the classic Planet Fitness black card for showering, and I actually work out sometimes. Yes, I forgot to show you my rather junky blackout blinds for the windows, and they do work reasonably well. What they are foam boards from Dollarama, $1 each. It takes me about one per window. Oh, there's the bloody wasps. One per window to do, and then I just lined them with cheap duct tape to fill in the gaps so that they don't leak light, and that works really, really well. However, they are somewhat cumbersome, and they are starting to fall apart after 3 months, so we'll probably go a different route in the future. Maybe some properly custom-made blinds with good thermal properties, considering the winter and the summer here, to keep the heat out. In the front, yeah, cheap dollar store Reflectix type blinds. Just cut them to size, and I don't worry too much about putting these up, even though I'm trying to be stealth. I think it's so many people use them here, it doesn't make me feel too conspicuous, and they do offer me the ability to leave my curtains open and to give it a more spacious feeling in the evenings when I'm getting ready for bed. So that's kind of it. What am I planning on doing? Well, I think I talked about pretty much all of my electrical ambitions. Definitely going to get a better bed set up in there. Possibly will use my dad's wonderful garage workshop to convert the whole thing over to a built-in conversion. We'll give it over the winter and we'll see how we go. And then if I decide to hang on to it next spring and carry on, then I just may do it. It's either that or, Foresty, I'm coming after your Quigley conversion and getting a 4x4 cargo van. We'll see. All right. Thanks for following me along on this kind of rambling first video. I'm sure I'm going to be looking back on this in a couple of years going, oh, I got so cringy. But hey, you got to start somewhere. Here, this is my start. I hope you'll come along with me. I hope we'll give you some tips and ideas that haven't already been covered a bazillion times on every other channel. But hey, it's a chance to discover this strange planet called Alberta, British Columbia. I'll be dipping into the States. I'll be doing anything that I have to do to keep myself from losing my marbles. And yeah, you can help me do that. I will be starting a Patreon. Yeah, I'm going to try and fund some of this stuff with your help. And maybe even a monetized YouTube channel. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wish me luck.